Hello, Mariner fans. Robbie Ross, voice of the Mariners, joined by Kevin Price, Sports Information Director here at the College of Coastal Georgia, and we are excited to join you today to talk about the new athletic year for 2017-2018 here at the College of Coastal Georgia. First off, probably the most important and exciting news, Kevin, is the new Sun Conference that the Mariners will be joining.
Yes, last year we completed play in the Southern States Athletic Conference. This is not new news. It came out during the year last year that we would make the move to the Sun Conference starting this school year. So here we are, but just some basics about the new conference. I won't get into too detail about it. People, of course, will learn who we're playing and how things will work as we go. But it's 12 schools. It's mostly Florida-based, so we'll be making a lot of trips down to the Sunshine State. But 3 schools are located in Georgia, 2 in addition to us, and that's SCAD out of Savannah, and then Thomas University over in Thomasville, and then also USCB, University of South Carolina, Beaufort, in Beaufort. So kind of a nice little tri-state conference, some really good teams with a long-standing NAIA tradition, and we're excited about joining that conference. Nothing wrong with our old conference. We were certainly happy in that conference. It was a great league for us when we made the transition to a 4-year status and to the NAIA. But just a couple of things are going to be really big. Maybe first and foremost is the travel for our coaches and our teams. They're going to spend a lot less time on the road. Obviously, it's a little bit of not as much of a financial burden as well. And that's going to pay dividends in a lot of ways. Our kids aren't going to have to miss as much class. They'll get back to campus at better hours and be ready to go back to class the next day and those kinds of things. So a lot of advantages going into this conference. We played a lot of these same teams anyway. Now they'll just be conference matchups.
And some natural rivals. You mentioned Thomas University in Thomasville, and not too far up the road, South Carolina Beaufort, right on the coast. Sounds like a natural rival. Yeah,
we'll kind of see how some of the rivalries take shape. They kind of developed just by the way things worked out in our old conference. In certain sports, it was interesting to kind of see who our rivals were just based on those sports alone, and I'm sure the same thing will happen here. But yeah, some natural rivals within the state, and of course USCB right up the road with a good athletic tradition as well. We played a lot of those Florida schools, like I said, in some non-conference matchups, but obviously no matter what sport it is, the intensity goes up and everything gets ratcheted up when it's a conference matchup. So it'll be interesting to see how all of those things certainly materialize.
Also new this year, coming a new website along with an app. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, of course, our website will still be coastalgeorgiasports.com, so that won't change, but we're going to unveil the new website along with the new school year, which, of course, starts this coming week here on August 21st. It's going to be a nice, new, fresh look. Nothing, again, was really wrong with our old site, but just needed to be tweaked and updated and kind of bring it along. It's amazing how much websites have changed in the first 5 or 6 years that we've had an athletic website. So I think it'll be a nice, neat change for our fans. A nice, fresh, exciting look. Still going to be very functional. They'll still be able to find their way around and find everything they need about their favorite teams. And that is one exciting addition. We're going to have an app for both iOS users and Android users. So regardless of what kind of mobile device you have, you should be able to find us on an app. And I've been testing those things out in recent days, and they're both going to be really nice, and I think our fans are really going to enjoy the apps as well.
That's exciting to think about. New app, new conference, but still the same website, most importantly, coastalgeorgiasports.com.
Exactly. Still coastalgeorgiasports.com. That does not change.
And that's the important thing, so you know where to find us. If you found us here, you'll be able to find us when it's new.
That's right, that's right.
And, you think back to summertime, just because school is out, doesn't mean that athletics stop. Now, of course, there were no official Coastal Georgia sporting events, but athletes had some very exciting things happen to them this summer, current athletes and former athletes as well.
Yeah, some of our former Mariners and current Mariners were out doing a lot of good stuff, competing on their own, the current Mariners, I guess, competing on their own during the summer. But a couple of the things I wanted to mention was just some of our former Mariners doing well on the golf course. Ali Tickham is playing on the Latin America tour, and he made several cuts out there this year. I think he went into the competition back in the winter and made, I think, 4 or 5 cuts and made, a couple $1,000s while he was out there. So he's looking good. Dylan Freeman, one of our former All-American golfers. He's been professional now for a couple of years, but just recently, earlier this month, he finished second in the Georgia Open and was right there in contention for the championship going down the stretch. And he actually got beat by Paul Claxton, a former PGA Tour professional who's lived in this area, edged him out there and won the tournament. So obviously, Dylan showed what he's all about, competing against a former tour pro, if you will. And then another guy who just finished out his college career here a couple of years ago, Trevor Smith. He's been playing a lot of amateur golf this summer and going back to the spring. I think he recently finished second in the Golden Isles Invitational out at Brunswick Country Club, and again had a chance to win there in the final round. So a lot of our golfers doing really good. But I tell you, Robbie, not just the kids that have continued in athletics, whether they're playing like amateur golf or professional golf. I know some of our volleyball players went out to the real world, so to speak, just like you and I this year after graduating. A couple of them have landed teaching jobs, I think, in the Atlanta area. A couple of them are in the nursing field, and just it's really great in the last few years to see a lot of our athletes take what they've learned here at Coastal Georgia and move on out to the real world, like I say, and get a regular 8-to-5 job, 40-hour work week, and kind of find out what the rest of life's all about. But it's good to see those kids, whether they're still competing or not, doing some really good things with their lives, both personally and professionally.
And you mentioned athletics, or athletes that are moving on to their full-time careers. That all ties in as being a college athlete and a student athlete. And 6 of 8 teams from 2016 and 2017 were named NAIA Scholar teams, which is a huge, huge accomplishment.
Yeah, 6 of our 8 teams, like you said, did get that distinction this summer. And basically, as a team, you had to have over I think 3.2 grade point average, and all of our teams did that. So that's exciting to see. Not only are we turning out kids who are doing good athletically, winning all conference awards, winning all American awards, we also have a lot of our kids on all of our teams doing well in the classroom and helping their teams earn that distinction. So certainly here at Coastal Georgia, we certainly stress the academic side and really want these kids to be student athletes. And since we've started here and since we've gone to the NAIA level, we've had a lot of kids make all conference, all academic teams, make the NAIA scholar teams as well. So that's real encouraging that our student athletes are taking things seriously in the classroom.
And of course, first up on the docket for athletics-wise is volleyball. Nationally acclaimed volleyball team that went to the national tournament last year and was very successful. Last couple of years, they've made a run at the national title. Talk about some things that will get started up on the volleyball court here pretty soon.
Yeah, well, volleyball is actually already here on campus in advance of school starting. They started preseason camp this time a week ago, so they will have had 2 weeks of camp before the first day of class. And just last week, they were also named the preseason favorite in the Sun Conference. And I think a lot of that has to do with our reputation in the past, winning 3 straight SSAC conference championships and going to the national tournament 3 years in a row, and not just going to the national tournament, making the final site after winning in the first round. So, obviously we have a good reputation going into our new conference, and the coaches, recognized that and kind of gave us the nod. They might have actually wanted to put the pressure on the new guy. I don't know. We'll see. But they may not have wanted that target on their back, so they placed it on us. But our team was certainly excited about that. So volleyball is the first thing out of the gate. We'll have a scrimmage on the 22nd, second day of class. So that'll be a good chance for our students and our fans to come out and see our volleyball team. Then they'll hit the road, Robbie, for their first competition at the Bill Marshall Invitational out in Nebraska. I think it's actually held in conjunction with the state fair out there. Kind of become a prestigious event, so they'll go up against some good teams there. They'll come back home for a week of practice, and then they'll go to a tournament in Columbia, Kentucky. I think it's called the Southeastern Challenge, and play some more good teams there. We'll actually have our first home match on September the 13th, so we still have a little bit of time for that. But fans can certainly go ahead and mark that date. But everybody gets here this coming up weekend. It's going to be move-in day on campus. It'll be a busy time for our new athletes and also our returning athletes. Just getting settled in back here on campus. Then Sunday night, we'll get all of our athletes together for an athletic meeting with our staff and our coaches. We'll just kind of let them know what's kind of coming up from A to Z in terms of athletics this year and what they need to know. And then, even though volleyball is going to be the central sport in the fall, all of our teams are going to be doing something. Basketball will be conditioning. Tennis will be conditioning, playing some exhibition matches. Same thing with softball. They'll have fall practice and some fall games and so forth. So everybody's got to get a physical though, Robbie, before they can get out on the field. So that's another thing that's going to be happening early next week. And then all of our teams pretty much go at it and get ready as they gear up for their own seasons. But volleyball is the first out of the gate. But like I said, golf's a sport that plays in the fall and the spring. So they'll be right out the gate in early September with their first tournament of the year, which is the Coastal Georgia Invitationals on St. Simons and Jekyll. So even though volleyball is going to be the main sport in season, all of our teams will be doing something right out of the gate in the fall. It's kind of a year-round thing.
It is indeed, and all your information to keep you up to date will be right here at CoastalGeorgiaSports.com. Stay tuned. In the coming weeks, we'll have a more in-depth volleyball preview, along with getting close to the end of the fall, basketball previews, and golf and tennis and softball as well. So lots to get to and lots to look forward to here in the 2017-2018, not only academic year, but also athletic year as well. So stay tuned right here to the College of Coastal Georgia Sports Network, right here on the CoastalGeorgiaSports.com. I'm going to get that out here in a moment. Kevin Price, thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll be back at you with some volleyball information coming up in the next few weeks.